today, so let's get back to the analysis. We have criminal trial lawyer Sarah Azari, Cup of Justice host Eric Bland, and high-profile trial attorney Mark Geragos. Mark Geragos, Eric Bland laid out for us early on in this trial. When they get that jacket and the ballistics come back and they've got gunshot residue on Murdoch's jacket, he's got trouble. What do you do with that?
Well, the cross-examination today revealed something that nobody had talked about before. Apparently, Alec Murdaugh was holding a shotgun. If you're holding a shotgun, does that mean that you're going to get gunshot residue on? The answer was, of course, yes. Also, do you know when it was put on? No. Do you know how it was put on? No. Do you know how many particles and how it got there? No. I've probably tried 30 murder cases over the last 40 years. And I will confidently tell you that GSR, while it's something that jurors will discuss, by the time you get done with cross-examination, it does not matter to the jurors. You know what does matter, however? Motive. Even though it's not an element, even though the judge will instruct them, motive is not an element of this crime. What jurors want to know first thing when they get back there, why would he do this?
Do you think today was compelling in terms of we were at the firm really caring about him and we totally forgot about all the stealing he did? So the motive was kill my wife and son and I get away with the thieving.
Let me tell you what's happening in the defense. The defense has done focus groups, and you don't have to believe me, the former Attorney General of South Carolina confirmed that he had heard the exact same thing. They've done focus groups, and South Carolina jurors, at least the mock jurors, were not buying this theory, number one. Number two, let me tell you what the defense is thinking. The defense is saying to themselves, well, yeah, now we want the suggestion there that any rational person would assume that it was likely that somebody was targeting the family. Why would they be targeting the family? Oh, we heard from his best friend he'd been under the addicted to opiates for 20 years. Oh, you mean this might have something to do with a drug connection or a disgruntled person having to do with a drug connection? Oh, yes. All you've got to do is plant that seed, and boy, the prosecution has done it. So I've been saying this entire case for the prosecution, be careful what you wish for, because you seem to be playing right into the defense's hands.
Eric Bland, the idea of the gunshot residue on the jacket, you said early on, hey, you guys don't know South Carolina. One of the things that will work with this jury is that they are from South Carolina and they are not as wowed by someone having access to weapons or using weapons as may happen in a New York City courtroom.
Yes, Chris, I'm not going to trade insults with Sarah. I've been doing this case for almost 2 years now. I've been knee-deep into the Murdaughs with my clients who are victims, at least 6 of them. So I know all the players involved. And I'm telling you, we do not know what's going to resonate with this jury. As a lawyer, I would think gunshot residue may resonate with the jury. But as Sarah and Mark will tell you, sometimes that doesn't. And the things that you think will resonate don't. They may have really hooked on to what Annette Griswold said. And I'm telling you, Chris, the last 2 days were very compelling for Ronnie Crosby, who was a godfather to Paul, who gave his eulogy, to get in that courtroom and say that my friend lied to me about the 2 really more important things about the timeline and being at the kennels. That resonated with the jury. I'm telling you, Chris, I am there. I've been there. I have utmost respect for Mark and Sarah. Mark's a legend, no question about it. But they don't know the people in South Carolina. And listen, I haven't heard Sarah once say that there's been a great witness for the prosecution. Just like I'm pro-prosecution, she's pro-defense. I mean, let's just be intellectually honest. And I will tell you, I thought that the gunshot residue expert this morning did not do a good job. I thought the cross-examination was extremely effective when Jim Griffin said, isn't it true that there could be gunshot residue on the very chair that you're sitting on based on them holding the gun? So I will say that Mark and Sarah were right on the gunshot residue.
And let me say where Eric's right. Last week, Eric said that Murdaugh is a 90-10 guy, right? That he's 90% a good family guy and 10% a scumbag. Well, we're starting to see how the defense is using the prosecution's witnesses on the fraud stuff to turn them into character witnesses about how he was a great father, he was a great husband, you know, he had drug addiction, etc. So, no, I don't attack the witnesses. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
Right. Look, it's not a political discussion.
Right.
You know, the nice thing about this is we're going to know what worked and what didn't on the jury because they're going to have a verdict or they're going to be hung. Now, one more thing I want to discuss that I also don't understand, so you can help me with this one also. I don't get, Eric, take me through the timeline and why you felt it was compelling today. I'll put it up on the screen for people. Now, what they had here was they have data from like, you know, part of the car's service software would show when this car was put in park and not put in park, and they're using that as a proxy for movement of the vehicle and stops by the vehicle. So, Dusty, put up the graphic about Murdaugh's car data. And what do you think this shows, Eric?
I thought the FBI wonk guy was really interesting, and I know people in the courtroom were interested, and I know the jury was in rapt attention. Your onboard entertainment system actually is another supercomputer that tracks all your movements. It wakes up, it goes to sleep the same way your phone does. And it confirmed exactly what Shelley Smith said yesterday, that Alex was only at the house for 15 to 20 minutes at his mother's house after the murders allegedly took place. And don't forget, Alex came and tried to muscle her up and say that he was there for 30 to 40 minutes. If it's 30 to 40 minutes that he was there, it would be impossible for him to do the murders, get rid of his clothes, clean up, drive to the mother's house, get rid of the guns, and get back home. But in the 15 to 20 minutes that his car said that he was there, the timeline still works for the prosecution. So that was a very, very compelling witness today for the government.
Quick take from both on the defense side about what this does and doesn't mean. Start with you, Mark Garagos.
Well, I tried a case 12 years ago of some note where the prosecution had this same so-called theory on the timeline. And one of the things that I think you're going to hear in the closing argument is whether it was 15 or 20 minutes or 30 or 40, what the prosecution thinks happened during the period when he wasn't at the house couldn't have happened, and I think that's clear. There just hasn't been so far the kind of compelling evidence that the prosecutor needs to put on. It's a circumstantial case, and you've got to have motive. And I'm telling you that I think humans are pretty much the same wherever you are in the country. And most people think it's a really ridiculous leap to say, oh, I was accused of embezzlement. Let me go blow my son and my wife's head off so that I'll buy 30 days on the investigation. It also, most people would, it'll be interesting to see if they go here. And this is something that is not just highly unlikely, but almost unheard of, that this would be what an opioid addict would do. And I know that, there's the argument, well, where are you going to get the evidence that he's an opioid addict? Well, we got it from his best friend already, who said that he conceded that for 20 or 25 years, or 20 or 25 years. And by the way, if you want to accept part of what the best friend is saying, you can't just dismiss the other part of what the best friend is saying.
All right, Sarah, give me a quick button. I'm out of time.
Yeah, I actually think it helps the defense because he each way took 16 minutes. Google says it's 18 minutes. What the prosecution is trying to prove is that somehow during this time period, he changed, he cleaned up, he disposed of the weapons. He actually got to the destination faster, 16 versus 18. So, and it's consistent with what the caretaker said, that he was there for 20. Why there's this 10-minute discrepancy, I don't know, but like Mark said, it's not a big deal. It'll be explained.
I sat on a jury once.
Chris, can I have the last word?
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I want to say two things. One, that Dick Harpootlian has been silenced for 2 days, which is highly unusual. Mark knows that circumstantial evidence cases all the time can get somebody guilty. It did in the Scott Peterson case. And I'm telling you, this jury is listening in rapt attention to the fraud and what pressures Alex was under on June 7th. Do not discount that. I know that you guys think that this doesn't happen around the country, but I'm telling you, this South Carolina jury is attuned to what is going on June 7th in Alex's life.
Hey, you remember in law school? You could have the complete wrong analysis, Eric, and still have the right conclusion. You know, because what do you have going for you? The guy was there, his wife and his son are dead. Who else would do it? And sometimes for a jury, it can be as simple as that. And I know that sounds like that's some kind of miscarriage of justice, but,
There's
you know,
no way he
I've
could
been
have
on a
been
jury
an opioid
before.
addict, Chris.
It gets pretty simple. What?
There's no way he could have been an opioid addict.
Well,
there's
look.
just no way. He didn't fall asleep in court. He didn't miss client meetings.
There's multiple
He didn't fall
witnesses.
asleep at the Thanksgiving table. Nobody took him.
You don't
into
have to
rehab.
fall asleep and
It's
nod
just-
off to be
it's
an
a Trojan
opioid
horse.
addict. Listen, Eric, maybe he isn't, but what you're saying is not the best way to analyze it. But I appreciate your opinion. I always do. You're always welcome here. Sarah Azari as well. Mark
Thank you.
Garagos, thank you each and all, especially tonight. I know it's been very busy. Appreciate your help on everything. And in fact, it's
Hey,
so
Chris,
crazy
be
tonight.
safe in the Ukraine.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Garagos is going to stick around because